Rachel Maddow has presented some hard facts to counter Mr. Trump's claim that the business sector supports him. In her recent analysis, she compared Mr. Trump's claims to a variety of credible facts and figures. The results are shocking. Let's take a look at this.
In reality, the actual stakes in this election, the comparative record of these two candidates on the economy and business, it doesn't favor the failed promoter of the affliction mixed martial arts league, which promoted exactly 2 bouts before it folded. And the man whose surviving company was convicted on multiple felony fraud counts and was named in his own felony criminal trial for falsification of business records.
According to a Salon.com article published by Gabriela Ferrigine on June 25th, MSNBC's Rachel Maddow on Monday debunked claims that the large corporations and their executives are staunch supporters, financially and otherwise, of Donald Trump, a line that the MAGA campaign has been pushing in the weeks ahead of the fast-approaching presidential debate between Trump and President Joe Biden.
Vote now. Make sure you, in fact, let people know you're a senator. I'm not going to answer the question because the question is, will you shut up?
Madden applauded Biden's economic record and asked, has the press told the public that the financiers have turned against Biden based on his record as an incumbent president? How could that be possible? Maddow asked. When we're presented with the observable truth of the Biden successes during his White House tenure, under Joe Biden, we just had the best year of American job creation in the 21st century, Maddow said, before presenting a series of reports illustrating the Biden administration's wins. The last time we had a streak this long of unemployment below 4% was in the early 1960s. The following clip was posted 2 weeks ago. It quotes a poll from the Financial Times, University of Michigan, that finds improving views about President Biden's ability to manage the economy.
New polling finds improving views about President Joe Biden's ability to manage the economy. According to the latest numbers from the Financial Times and the University of Michigan, 41% of registered voters trust Donald Trump more to handle the economy compared to 37% who say they trust Biden more. As recently as February, Trump's lead over Biden was 11 points.
According to the Hill.com article by Rashad Simmons, published on June 22, 2024, senior Bernie Sanders slammed billionaires who have financially supported former President Trump in the 2024 presidential race, calling them greedy. In an interview with MSNBC's Chris Hayes, Sanders, who chairs the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, called out the billionaires who have embraced the former president in support of their agenda. At a time when we have so much greed out there, when the religion of the billionaire class is greed, they would rather give up democracy, he told Hayes in an interview on Friday. These guys are so greedy, so wedded up to their wealth and their power that they'll do anything to keep that position, Sanders continued, adding that Trump is an outrageous example of selling out for money.
It really is incredible. It shouldn't be shocking, really, but it is, knowing the history of the country over many years. But these guys are so greedy, so wedded to their wealth and their power that they will do anything to keep that position. But the issue, and I'm glad you're focusing on it, because it's certainly not just Trump. Trump is just an outrageous example of selling out for money.
According to News8000.com article by Matt Egan, published on CNN June 22, 2024, the headline states, Trump would make America's inflation crisis worse. 16 Nobel economists warn. The article then goes into detail. 16 Nobel Prize-winning economists are warning that Trump's proposals wouldn't just fail to fix inflation, they would make matters worse. We, the undersigned, are deeply concerned about the risks of a second Trump administration for the U.S. economy. The Economists wrote in the Tuesday letter, which was first reported by Axios. The letter, organized by famed economist Joseph Stiglitz, argued that there are valid reasons to worry the Trump agenda will reignite inflation. In particular, the The Economists point to Trump's fiscally irresponsible budgets and nonpartisan research from the likes of the Peterson Institute, Oxford Economics, and Allianz that finds the Trump agenda, if successfully enacted, would increase inflation. Trump approved $8.4 trillion of new 10-year borrowing during his term, nearly twice as much as President Joe Biden has so far in his office. According to fiscal watchdog group, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget.
Tonight, a new warning about the stakes this November. 16 Nobel Prize-winning economists say that if former President Donald J. Trump wins, quote, his plans will reignite inflation and cause lasting harms to the global economy. And Jeffrey Sonnenfeld of Yale, who works with thousands of business leaders every year, he pointed out that the business community has not embraced the former Trump in no way, shape, or form. In fact, no one Fortune 100 CEO has donated to Trump this year.
According to the Time.com article by Jeffrey Sonnenfeld, Laura DeAndre, Tyson, and Stephen Tian, published on June 20th, 2024. Perhaps the most brazenly bizarre, idiosyncratic, and hyperinflationary parts of Trump's economic platform manifest in his monetary policy views. Trump and his advisors have floated the idea of stripping the Federal Reserve of its independence and letting Trump himself set rates arbitrarily. Trump, across his entire life, has almost always favored lower interest rates, irrespective of where we are in the economic cycle, and keeping interest rates down through a de facto yield curve control would prove massively inflationary at a time of already strong demand. Trump's monetary policy views are so wacky that even his fellow Republican senators repeatedly thwarted Trump's effort to appoint pliant allies such as pizza salesman Herman Cain and gold standard advocate Judy Shelton to the federal board and protected Chair Jerome Powell from Trump's repeated efforts to fire him during his first term. Trump and his advisors have also pledged to devalue the dollar, a sudden reversal of a century-long pillar of global businesses, which would not only reignite inflation, but reduce the purchasing power of U.S. consumers. Trump's other complaints about inflation veer towards empty cliches. For example, Trump has promised to unleash American energy amidst spirited cries of drill baby drill, ignoring the fact that under Biden, the US has become the single largest producer of crude oil in the world by far, producing well over 13 million barrels per day. That's more than the US ever pumped under Trump, more than any country in history, and 50% more than the runners-up Saudi Arabia and Russia. With oil and natural gas prices lower today than they were during the Trump's first term, in fact, despite ire from Greens and progressives, Biden has approved 50% more oil and gas drilling permits for wells and federal lands compared to Trump.
So American voters are going to ultimately have to grapple with and come to some kind of a decision about the balance of cost and benefit. Because putting higher taxes on imported goods will raise prices for consumers and be inflationary, but is it worth it to become less reliant on foreign-made goods? The same thing goes for labor costs as well. You've got larger scale immigration crackdowns being proposed, whether it's targeting legal or illegal immigrants. That's going to constrain the labor pool.
According to the news.com.au article Sarah Sharples published on June 26, 2024, Trump has not been modest about his achievements during his first presidency, claiming in a Time magazine interview that he had the greatest economy in history while he was in charge of the US. He has declared another shot at the presidency would give him the chance to rebuild the greatest economy in history. But experts aren't convinced, and there are fears that Trump in power would be damaging not only for the global economy, but also to democracy.
Trump and Republicans want to wreck your bank account. Here are 5 things you need to know about Trumponomics. Number 1, Trump wants to cut taxes for the rich at your expense.
You're rich as hell. We're going to give you tax cuts?
Trump's tax cuts for the rich and big corporations added about $1.7 trillion to the national debt.
That's it for today, folks. Thanks for watching the Daily News. Stay tuned for more updates, and God bless America.